Are you feeling called to step into authentic leadership? Not sure what that even means, but it kind of sort of speaks to your heart right now? Then this interview is for you. Hello and welcome to the Freedom Seeker Show. I'm your host, Yvonne Winkler, founder of the Lotus Emerging Entrepreneur Program, managing director of eWomen Network Alberta, and facilitator for Daniel Laporte's signature program, The Desire Map. And today, joining me is Soulful Strategist, Transformation Guide, Master Desire Map Mentor, and Datora Wellness Advocate, Anne-Marie McKenzie. Anne-Marie empowers heart-centered entrepreneurs to discover their core feelings and implement soulful strategies to create a handcrafted life and business they love. Welcome! So awesome to have you here, Anne-Marie. I'm really excited to dive into today's topic of bringing soulfulness and heart-centeredness into business. And that's a big one for me because I've been trying to do that for 3 years now, and I've been hitting a lot of different roadblocks along the way because of these deeply, deeply ingrained systems and belief systems and just social systems and business systems that insist on doing it a different way. So I'm really excited to have you here because my work with you so far has been so enlightening, and I have been able to really dig a little deeper in my business, in my core business. So I welcome you, and I have a few questions for you today in terms of talking about heart-centeredness in our business. What does that even mean? What does heart-centeredness even mean, Anne-Marie?
Oh, such a good question. I want to thank you, though, for being here today. I'm very honored and just grateful for the opportunity to have these conscious conversations. So thanks. So what is a heart-centered business? This topic's been coming up a lot lately. And in the entrepreneurial world, there's questions about, do we call ourselves a spiritpreneur or heart-centered entrepreneur or awakened entrepreneur? Like, what does it all mean? And for me, it really all boils down to the same stuff, the same thing. We are people who are very interested in being of service to the world instead of service to self.
Right.
And we really care about people, we care about the planet, and we care about making it a much, much better place to live. I believe that a lot of heart-centered entrepreneurs and businesses are a lot of empaths and highly sensitive people who were birthed into this planet already given a gift to feel, and maybe they have this gift of clairsentience. So not only do they feel their own feelings really big, but they feel the feelings of others in the world, and that's kind of where their call to action comes from. For a really long time, feelings were looked down upon and emotions were looked down upon. We didn't talk about them. They weren't encouraged. You know, we were told to put your big girl pants on if you were a little boy, right? Unfortunately, it was even worse. They were ridiculed. They were deemed as weak. And so for a long time, we had this culture that just didn't feel, and we became very apathetic. And I think that's why there's been this rise of the heart-centered entrepreneur as well, because that paradigm, it just doesn't work on this planet anymore. And it's time to make a shift, and it's time to look at the things that we're passionate about and look at what our purpose is in life, but also couple that with profits.
And being okay with profits too. Like that's a whole branch off that I think we should do a follow-up interview on, because that all in and of itself brings up so much for us, right? Because there's that dilemma around like being a heart-centered entrepreneur and being profitable. There seems to be somewhat of a disconnect where some of us feel that they aren't in alignment when the exact opposite is true, right? Like, in order for us to have the impact we want to have in the world, we need to be profitable to begin with. Thank you. That was a wonderful explanation of heart-centeredness and how heart-centeredness comes into our business world and our business paradigm.
It's definitely, it's this authentic leadership that's showing up. Like, I've been in leadership for 25 years. That's my background. And authentic leadership is what's showing up now. And people with high levels of emotional intelligence, heart intelligence. And not only are they showing up to do this work, but they're creating more authentic leaders as well. And when these challenges come up, these things that we faced for years, and being able to shift this paradigm, these authentic leaders are showing up and saying, not only are we going to do this, but we're going to do it in a way that's in alignment with some core values and some core beliefs, and do this with integrity. That's what I love about it.
I do too. Why do you think that now, like you said earlier, that now more than ever, this type of leadership is in demand, or is what we need? Why do you think that is? Why is it so important to you?
We are shifting as a species. Our planet is increasing its vibration. That's a scientific fact. So the level of consciousness is raising. And for those of us who are waking up or who are awake, we can feel that, we can hear that, we can sense that, and we are responding and rising to that call. And we just moved into the age of Aquarius. There was an amazing song about it in the 70s, right? They were like, we cannot wait for the age of Aquarius. Well, it's here. And you can witness it all throughout the world. There are so many things that are happening to us on purpose, and they feel dark, and they feel heavy, and they feel tragic when it comes to the pandemic, when it comes to Black Lives Matter, when it comes to the Me Too movement. You can just see the rise of the old that's not serving us anymore. We're shedding it. We're letting go of it. And in order for us to get to the light, we have to go through that darkness. And these things are happening for us, not to us. They're happening for us. We're being called to heal. We're being called to expand. We're being called to rise. We're being called to become a more authentic leader and to show up with a high level of heart intelligence, with rebuilding that connection. So we used to be operating out of here solely. We used to be operating in the masculine solely. And now we're starting to rebuild that mind and heart connection. Because again, thankfully, science and research is starting to back us up. Now we've got 20, almost 30 years of science to back this up, that the heart actually has its own little brain. There's 40,000 cells that have neurons that operate separately than the brain. So that's being recognized. And now we know that the heart's electromagnetic field is 5,000 times stronger than that of the mind, 5,000 times stronger. So hello, we need to be operating from that space. And this isn't about, yes, it is about rise of the feminine, but it's not about the feminine taking over. We've done that in history, and it doesn't work when it's feminine in charge or masculine in charge. It is about balancing and finding that sweet spot between the two, and just recognizing and honoring that both of them are so valuable, and both of them need to coexist in order for us to be successful. And when I say success, I mean that's defined in our own terms, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, exactly. I once, one of my mentors used this analogy to define what you just said about the masculine and the feminine. She said, the feminine on its own is like a river without its banks. And I just, like, when she said that, it landed, it just, like, I'm a visual person. Yeah. And it made so much sense to me. Like, we need both. You're absolutely correct. Like, we need both masculine and feminine energies. We need both masculine and feminine values in business and in life. It's being that one-sidedness that has gotten us in trouble, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's an incredible visual. I'll be using that, because it's so true. It's the masculine is the container, right? It provides the security, it provides the safety, very foundational, very action oriented. And the feminine is the flow, is the creativity, is the, wow, I love that.
Yeah, it is. It was one of those ones that went into the savings bank. So speaking about some of the challenges, actually, sorry, let me go back for 1 minute, because when you said that about, why this is so important for us right now in this time of Aquarius, I wrote this down. It was a perfect moment to insert also that I feel with this awakening comes, a quest for us to also hone some new skills that we may have not really had in the past, that we need to start bringing forth. And there's no requirement here that we immediately need to know how to do all of these things. But I wanted to insert to our audience today that, there are so many wonderful people out there, mentors, coaches, therapists, that can help us on this path of, redirecting and just evolving a new way of doing business or being more heart-centered. And I just felt that it was a perfect moment to insert that, because so many of us might feel intuitively what you said, that awakening, all of these changes that are happening, but we may not exactly know how to channel them, or we may not have someone who can sit and listen to what we want to say about that too, right? Like we just that feeling of being given permission to feel a certain way, or to be okay with that. So I found it very helpful to have that mentorship in my life. Just say, you know what, Yvonne, you're not off of your rocker. There's a reason why you're feeling the way you're feeling. So I appreciated you saying that.
And you're not the only one. That's also so important. And I know, even though I do what I do and I'm a soulful strategist and transformation, I still feel this too. I'm in this with everybody else. I'm not a master necessarily, or a guru or an expert for other people, but I am for my own life. And that's what this is about, is this shift, this up level is really just a call for us to be who it is that we are. That's it.
Yes.
We just need to be who we are.
Yeah.
And really just embrace our gifts, embrace the experiences that we've had in life that have brought to us skills and ideas and strengths, and capitalize on that. And there's guilt that shows up with that, though, and there's shame that will show up with that sometimes, because of trapped emotions that we haven't healed or moved through. And the ego shows up and keeps telling us to play small. And again, it's about getting out of the mind and back into the heart. When we tap into that innate wisdom that belongs in all of us, the heart will always lead us to what's the highest good for ourselves. And what's the highest good for us is the highest good for all. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you say that has been one of your biggest challenges with all of this, is that shadow, that darkness that comes with being heart open, with being heart centered? Because in order to be heart centered, you have to be heart open. I'm just curious around, what are some of the biggest challenges that your clients or yourself have faced with all of this?
Everything that I speak of, it's through experience. So absolutely, yes. There were many periods of my life that were very dark, and I struggled with my own sense of self. I struggled with spirituality, because I couldn't possibly understand how God, goddess, all that is, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, how could they have given this all to one person, and especially a child? I experienced so many traumas and so much tragedy and so much heartache at a very early age, and it didn't stop for a really, really long time. And it made me angry. And for a long time, I fought against the world. I fought against my own gifts and talents. And it wasn't until in my late teens that I found a mentor that started to open my eyes to this possibility that, again, the universe is providing me these spiritual assignments to become who it is that I'm supposed to be. And then I went through that period of spiritually bypassing things like oh, I'm grateful for this and I'm grateful for that, but I hadn't really done the work. I hadn't really forgiven. I hadn't really surrendered. I hadn't really accepted. I hadn't really released and let go and cut the cords and moved on. And so there was that residual effect in there. And for me, it was, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs experience this as well, heart-centered entrepreneurs, that especially us who are empaths and highly sensitive people, that we feel too big and we feel other people's feelings. So it is about managing that and understanding that. And then also coupling that with, well, I've experienced so much loss in my life because this is about me understanding grief, and this is about me understanding anger and how to self-regulate those feelings and emotions, and how to recognize that we are not our feelings, that they don't belong to us. They are messages from the universe. They are messages from our soul. Our feelings and our emotions are the language of the universe. So really, it was about me realizing that everything stems from one of two places, fear or love. And what are you going to align yourself with? Is it going to be fear or love? When the feelings come up that stem from fear, what does that look like? What do we do with them? And it really is about, again, just recognizing that maybe this is just a piece of clothing that I have on right now, but the sun came out and it's hot outside. So I'm going to take that off. We can just take it off. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, or I've got an interview today and it's time for me to put my big girl pants on. So it has served us in some way. And then, maybe when it's done, that's when I put that back on, but I head to my meditation pillow. I use my essential oils. I have a crystal. I drop into my heart. I take some deep breaths and I access all of these tools. So I guess, like, to sum it up, one of the biggest challenges has been embracing the heart intelligence and the emotional intelligence and realizing that this is actually our greatest resource, that we all have been gifted, that we just have so much innate wisdom that's within us. But because of the way of the world for so long, we just haven't been listening to it, but it's time. And you can see it now. I'm still going through that, where we have to, learn self-love, self-care, self-compassion. And with that comes the forgiveness. I look back and think about how I reacted to certain things in my life and how I've treated myself and how I've treated other people. And a big challenge has been learning how to forgive myself and forgive other people, to infuse that healing so that I can fully stand in my own power. So I can let go of those loops that the ego has us going round and round and chasing our own tails in our minds and keeps us playing small. It is about infusing that healing so that way the light can actually shine through. Yeah.
Whew. I'm just taking it all in, because you're speaking to my heart right now completely. Like, I can feel the emotion. I can sense the truth in everything that you've said. So, and like you, I think we, those of us who are very in tune, which, like you said, most of us are. It's just some of us have built a bigger wall than others, right? To get down to that heart-centeredness. This wasn't one of the questions I wanted to go to, but I feel like it's the right place to insert this. What do you do on a regular basis then to keep you in that heart-centeredness? You said meditation. You have your crystals. You have your oils. Because I'm sure it's not like you wake up one day and decide, oh, I'm going to be heart-centered today, right? Like, what was your journey? Maybe we'll start there. Maybe that'll reveal what you do on a daily. What was your journey? How did you get into all of this? You mentioned you had a lot of trauma in your life, and then you had a mentor when you were around 17 who showed you that there might be a different way. So how did that lead to becoming a soulful strategist?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur several times in my life. It started in high school. I left home when I was 16 and I had part-time jobs, but to make some extra cash for fun, I started macrame. I would macrame everything. I would make dog collars and dog leashes and hemp plant hangers. And literally, if we had like a bonfire party at one of our local ponds, it was me with my little bag of a variety of colors of different hemp and beads. And people would ask for custom necklaces. So I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. And oh gosh, I'm not very good with dates, but I think it was around 2011, 2012. I was going through a big period of darkness and depression and anxiety. And my mom had sent me a bunch of movies, and one of them was Jim Carrey's Yes Man. Mm. And so I started saying yes to everything to get out of the funk, which led me to a talk with Danielle Laporte and Gabby Bernstein. Mm-hmm. I'd never heard of them before, and I had never heard of the Desire Map. I wasn't into meditation. I didn't know anything about emotional intelligence, but these two women really spoke to me. I loved Danielle and I resonated with her more. At the time, Gabby was talking about her recovery and her sobriety. And that wasn't something that I was willing to do at the time, was put that bottle down and let go of my addictions. And she talked a lot about transcendental meditation. And my belief at the time was I couldn't do that. I didn't know how. But Gabby's book was the one that we got for free. And so we started doing this work together, women gathering, reading together and sharing our vulnerabilities and
so
sharing.
Was this a Course in Miracles, or?
It was, yeah. So the 30-day guide to subtle shifts and changes, I think we did it maybe in like 92 days, but it was so empowering and so inspiring because you felt like you weren't alone. And so from there, I went towards the Desire Map and truthfully couldn't do the work, but Danielle said something on that stage that one day and within that book that really resonated with me. And it was, what you say no to is just as important as what you say yes to. And I was exhausted. So I was saying yes to everything because I was following Jim Carrey's Yes Man. So what happened though was I said no to my relationship with my mother, and I wasn't blocking her out of my life forever. But I was just saying no to the relationship that we had because it was very unhealthy and it was very toxic. So I took about 8 months of not having a relationship with her. And then when we came back together again, we never spoke about the time that we didn't talk, but we were able to show up for each other with more kindness and more compassion and more love. And very shortly after that, she was diagnosed with cancer, and I lost her within 5 months. She was living on the other side of Canada. I live in BC. She was in New Brunswick. And I was there for her and with her through all of it. And when you witness somebody that you love die in front of you, it changes everything, absolutely everything. Any doubts I had about spirituality and my connection with something greater than myself were all gone. She was there with me even after she passed. I could feel it. I could feel that overwhelming sense and her hug and her energy around me. And I walked away from that going, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Sorry. Like it just was a big universal slap across the face. The universe was like, you were meant for more. You were meant for greatness. You are worthy. You are so worthy of your desires, and you are worthy of all of these beautiful ideas that you have. And I need you. I need you to start showing up now. And through the guidance of my mother as well, you know, when I spent that last 5 months with her, that time was just so incredibly beautiful because you got to see somebody at their most vulnerable. You got insights from someone who was at the end of their life and this deep wisdom from them about what to do differently moving forward. And my mother had anger, my mother had resentment, my mother had guilt, my mother had shame. She carried all of that with her until the end of her life. I do believe that she was able to let it go. But we carry 7 generations of trauma. And so I was able to understand that part of her was still in me, and she didn't get the opportunity to complete that work. And so I was going to do that for myself. Yes, for her, but for myself, because at the end of my time, I don't want to feel like that. I want to feel like I did it all. I had no regrets, that I was so full of joy and love and abundance, and that I lived a life wild and free. So I dove into the desire map work. I really got clear on how it was that I wanted to feel by examining all my life areas, looking at what's not working, really staying true to my own heart and practicing gratitude for the things that I do have, understanding my feelings. So I kept working in that emotional intelligence realm. I've always been a highly emotionally intelligent person, but I struggle with aspects of it. So identifying my feelings, which many people do, communicating our feelings, especially in an authentic way. It's so scary, right? To say to your partner, I'm angry at you right now, because we're always, that fear will show up about how that other person's going to react.
Absolutely.
And so through my own deep personal work, and I did more than the desire map. I mean, I wrote a list of things that I love doing and the things that I thought I was good at. And I asked all my closest friends and colleagues that I had worked with in the past, what do you think that my strengths and my skills are? And I did Gallup's Strength Finder personality testing to find out my top strengths, and human design, and all of it. And I went back into therapy and had a therapist help me leave a toxic job that I had loved at one point in my life, but didn't anymore. And she helped me transition into a business. And so I had all of this. Okay, this is what I'm good at. Now what? Because I was deeply grieving for the loss of my mother. So my creativity wasn't quite there yet. I had to stay within those feelings of grief and working through that. And so that's when Danielle Laporte said, ta-da, I'm offering licenses so people can facilitate the desire map work. I'm like, what? I had witnessed the power of it, where I chose how it was that I wanted to feel. And even though I was going to the hospice where my mother was, that was terrible, awful, heartbreaking, that there was this ability to still feel joy. There was still this ability to feel gratitude, to feel unconditional love. And if you could go through something as tragic as that, but still operate at a high level of frequency, to still vibrate in alignment with feelings of joy and abundance and freedom, like how magical is that? Yeah. And so I started to realize that this emotional intelligence, heart intelligence, is the key to manifesting a life that you love. And it's the key to authentic leadership. It really is. And so in 2015, I was one of the first Desire Map facilitators. And I remember when I joined, I said to a friend, someday I'm going to work for Danielle Laporte. Like someday there's going to be an alignment where either I work for her or I work with her, because of that tremendous impact. Now, what's evolved from that is these experiences of, I just wanted everyone to know about the desire map. So I desire mapped everything. I desire mapped teens. I desire mapped couples. I desire mapped corporate world, business world, nonprofits, boards. I even worked with a women's dragon boat team to help them uncover their core feelings and use these as a guidance system, as a GPS for their soul and their decision making, and use that as strength training for their own intuition. What has stemmed from that is recognizing that I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And when I was hosting circles and when I was doing workshops and it was in that entrepreneurial space, that's when I felt at most with my core feelings. That's when I felt luminously rooted in abundance, deep, authentic, creative connections, and kind of a big deal. And so to me, I found that niche. And when you couple that with my strengths, which are strategy, communicator, ideator, relator, and activator, it just made complete sense. And we do this, like us heart-centered entrepreneurs, we do this, like, it is another one of those challenges where we don't charge our worth. And that's because sometimes we don't actually recognize our worth. When we're doing things that are just so natural to us, that are so easy to us, that's your zone of genius. Yeah. But because it's come so easy to us, we assume that, well, this has to be easy for everyone. And now I have all these clients that are like, I cannot see the bigger picture. I do not. When you ask me what 10 years looks like, I get overwhelmed. I get anxiety because I don't know. I don't even know what's going to happen next week. And I'm like, come to me. I'm like, the bigger picture is one of my strengths, being able to help people gain that clarity of not only where it is that they want to go, but most importantly, how they want to feel along the way. And the only reason I'm able to do this today is because of that deep work that I have done. And that I still continue to do. It's about understanding that commitment plus structure plus woo-woo is what equals freedom or success.
I love it. Love it. I love this formula.
Yeah, it's one of my formulas that I created for the Awaken Business Academy to help us understand, because sometimes commitment feels counterintuitive to freedom. Committing to doing something every single day it doesn't feel like it would create freedom, but it's the exact opposite. Showing up on your yoga mat or showing up on your meditation pillow every single day, that commitment just leads to so much freedom because it's a heart opener. And so when you asked me, about some of the tools and resources that I do, it really, for me, is in my lifetime, it is about my heart, and it is about learning to open my heart and continue to heal my heart. When I see mediums, when I see coaches, when I see therapists, when I see my massage therapist, my chiropractor, all my healers, they are always like, "Oh, Anne-Marie, that heart chakra." And I'm like, I know. And sometimes I'm tapping, and I'm like, fuck past lives. Like, I'm so done with past lives, and I'm so done with shadow work, but I'm not. It's just in that time, in that space, maybe I'm just feeling overwhelmed and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. But the truth is I really do, because every time I go into that dark place, I come out definitely standing shinier and brighter. And I'm able to expand my own level of consciousness so that way I can be more of service to the world. Yeah.
Well, it goes back to the promise, I think, that you made to yourself when you left your mom's hospice. You said there is more out there, and I will find that. So it's that commitment that I hear that commitment to yourself, to evolve Anne-Marie into the highest form or highest version that you can be here in this world. Because like you said, if you do that, you will be inevitably having the ripple effect on all the people around you. And I love that. I wanted to ask you, and you kind of answered it, but I would like to hear it out of your mouth. So if someone who's watching this and they're recognizing so much truth in or they're feeling the resonance in what it is that that you're saying, what would you say? Where can they begin? Because someone listening in might go, oh gosh, like I don't want to go back into all of those hurts, into all of those painful moments in my trauma in my life. Where would you say is a good place to start? And remember, we're speaking mostly to business women.
That's a really good question. Breathe. It's our breath. It's the easiest to connect to our heart. It's the cheapest. Totally free.
True.
Pausing, and there's a time and a place, and there's a space for diving into the past. Do it when your heart tells you. Listen to your heart, ask your heart, and it's sometimes it's just touching your heart. We touch our heart, close our eyes. We are there, we are with her. And you can ask her anything, and don't answer from here. It's not up here, it's down here. What comes to you?
Yeah.
What's your intuition tell you? What's that first thought that comes into your mind? And there will be times where your heart's guiding you to go do that work.
Yeah.
Go do it. And there is no right or wrong way to do it. Follow your gut, follow your intuition, follow your instincts. Know how it is that you want to feel from it. Really connect that activity, that exercise, to how you want it to feel. Because when you do that, especially if you're brand new to something like therapy, and I've been to several therapists in my life, I'm a firm believer that we all need to be in therapy on a regular basis, just like we go to the gym for our physical bodies. This is just working out for our emotions and our emotional body. But having that feeling when you have that experience, then you will immediately know, yes, this is connected with how it was that I wanted to feel, or no, this person's not as woo-woo as I want them to be. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
When I showed up, I connected with an osteopath for the first time, and I had a little bit of anxiety. I was nervous. It was a new person, a new doctor, a new modality. It cost money out of my own pocket. I just didn't know. When I showed up into her office, I looked to the right, and there was a whole counter of essential oils. I'm like, she's my
Yes,
peep.
I'm home.
Yeah, yeah. And then she shows up and she's wearing all white. She's angelic. And she's like, are you woo-woo? Are you interested? And I'm like, okay, this is my gal. And she goes, well, I only ask because sometimes it freaks people out because she can channel at the same time as she's working through your body. And what was so crazy is she has never met me before, but she channeled my mother in that healing session.
Wow.
She goes, honey, she's like, your kidneys, like, one is higher than the other, but it's not supposed to be like that. And this is relating to your own truth and standing in your own power. And it's telling me that you're stuck, that you feel obligated to stay here, but you're supposed to be over there doing your own thing. And there's something in this room that's pushing you. That's why you're in pain, because this thing in the room is like pushing you, is creating this experience for you, so that way you'll heal it and you'll go and you'll move on. And I have tears streaming down my face as this she's like, is this resonating with you? I'm like, I'm trying to leave my job so I could be like a full-time entrepreneur, but I'm freaking scared. And she's like, who's this that's doing it? Like, what, and she was like, tell me about it. So I told her a little bit about my story and how I started as this desire map facilitator and morphed into a master desire map mentor. And she goes, and she goes, oh, it's her. That's who's here today. It's your mom. And like all the hairs on my body stood up, just goosebumps everywhere. And so I knew that's yeah. Anyways.
That was your intuition affirming. Yeah. You're making the right steps. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes the stuff that scares us the most is exactly what we need to do, right? So what you resist, I'm trying to fish out the quote in my head right now. There's a really beautiful quote about that we must do that what scares us the most for all the reasons you just said. Yeah. So beautifully put.
So to circle it back, it is about that breath, connecting to the breath and connecting to the heart, and then listening to that innate wisdom to know what it is to do next. Mm-hmm. The second layer that's also free and easy is connect with Mother Earth. It is that simple. Go outside, go for a walk, bare feet on the grass when you can. For myself, I remember showing up in my doctor's office. This was about 6 months after losing my mom. And I was like, I'm struggling. I can't sleep still. I have this anxiety. I don't want to go back to work. Like, I've kind of lost my motivation in life. I just want to do this desire map stuff. And I ended up going to Hawaii. My partner said, can we afford it? And I said, I can't afford not to. Like, I have to do this. Yeah. And I remember going back to my doctor and I said, next time I show up in your office, your prescription should just be 2 weeks in the sun. That's it. Like, just go spend time with Mother Earth, Mother Nature. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Beautiful, beautiful suggestions. And again, resonating very deeply with me. So thank you for that, Anne-Marie. I would like to just find a really beautiful way to wrap this up. How can viewers find out more about the things that you do, and how can they get involved with you?
AnneMarieMcKenzie.com is my website. So you can connect, get on my mailing list. I have this really awesome Awakened Business quiz. I was that girl, where we get magazines and we do the quiz and it would tell us who we're going to marry or whatever, right? So I created something that was really fun for entrepreneurs, just to see where they're at, I guess, on the awakening level, and then make some recommendations about where to go next and what the next steps are. And you can find all my social media handles there, and the work that I do, that I offer as a soulful strategist for life and business. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. And for anyone who is even remotely, questioning whether or not, just pick up the phone or drop Anne-Marie an email. I have worked with you now on different occasions with different things. But every time I have worked with you, Anne-Marie, you've always cracked open just a little bit more of something within me. And I so appreciate that, because you're speaking to my soul and to my heart. And from a business perspective, you have been the person I've been looking for, because I often found very alone in the spirit of things that I was in. There were a lot of naysayers. There still are a lot of naysayers, and like, oh, she's too woo woo and whatnot. And meeting you just really affirmed to me that I'm not alone, and that I'm not off my rocker. Like, there's something to this. Heart intelligence is 5 times stronger than the mind. So 5,000, not 5,000 times stronger than the mind. So like you said, to really, really, really paint a strong message around that. At the end of the day, our mind will always tell us the thing that we shouldn't be doing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the heart will always tell us where we really need to go. So I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much for your time, Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Yvonne.
I'm so excited to continue our journey together. And the next Awakened Business Academy is when? When is that starting again?
It's coming up this February.
Oh, February 2021.
Yes. So it's an 8-week online journey. And how it's different than any other online courses out there, it's live. I keep it small groups because I like the intimacy. I like the connection. I like building relationships. And again, it's in alignment with my core feelings for my business: luminously rooted in abundance, deep, authentic, creative connections, and kind of a big deal.
That's my favorite one. I appreciate that a lot. And just to be clear, it's live online. And so you can be anywhere in this beautiful world and join in and see Anne-Marie in action. Thank you again. And I can't wait for our next interview, when we're going to be talking about grief and anger. I wrote that down. That's going to be our next one.
Good. Love it. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Love and light.
Hey love, did you enjoy this episode? Then please go ahead and hit the subscribe button below this video. It would mean a lot to me to have more followers on this channel, so that you can help me and we can have a bigger impact spreading the word of authentic leadership, as well as women in business, and having unfiltered conversations that matter to us. So if you enjoyed this, share it with your friends, hit the subscribe button, and give me a thumbs up.